Hi, I'm Gordon from Camera Labs, and this is my review of the Instax Mini 99, an instant camera designed for Fujifilm's Instax Mini Film. Launched in March 2024 and costing around $200 or £175, it's aimed at anyone who wants more control than a budget model like the Mini 12 while remaining a fully analog camera. The 99 lets you brighten or darken exposures, offers bulb and double exposure modes, has 3 focus zones, a rechargeable battery, a tripod thread, and features coloured LEDs inside the body to deliver pretty neat effects without any digital manipulation. Now these all roughly double the camera's price over a basic Mini 12, but I reckon they're worth it for those who want more than a fully automatic experience. It's by far the most advanced analog Instax camera from Fujifilm to date, and it's easily become my favourite. As an analog camera, the Mini 99 doesn't have a sensor, a screen, or any memory, or any means to transfer images to your phone. Instead, the light from the lens directly exposes the film inside, with paper prints emerging after you take the shot, and with the image fading into view a couple of minutes later. If you want to share one of these photos on your phone, you'll need to take a photo of the print itself, although Fujifilm's updated Instax app at least makes this easy. Like all Instax mini cameras, the Mini 99 is only compatible with Instax mini cartridges, which contain 10 prints and cost around $15 or pounds for a twin pack, so that works out at around 75 cents or 75 pence a print. Larger packs are also available and sometimes work out a bit cheaper, and Fujifilm also sells a variety with different border styles if you fancy it, as well as monochrome cartridges for black and white photography. Instax mini prints are roughly credit card sized, with the actual picture measuring 2.4 by 1.8 inches or 62 by 48 mm, leaving a little bit of room on one side for writing a note or a caption with a marker pen. I generally shoot Instax mini in the tall portrait shape, so the extra space is below the image rather than to its side. The Mini 99 is the unofficial successor to the Mini 90, also known as the Neo Classic, a camera released about 10 years ago, and while now long discontinued, you may still find one for about $50 or pounds less. Like most new Instax cameras, there's a number of features shared with the previous model, but the Mini 99 boasts many more upgrades than the entry-level series has seen in a long time, making it the most advanced analog camera in the Instax series to date. In terms of design, the Mini 99 is closer to the vintage style of the Mini 40 on the left, sensibly steering away from the cuter but inevitably more toy-like looks of the Mini 12 on the right. So it's out with the Mini 12's curves, pastel colours and smooth finish, and in with sharper angles and a classy looking, albeit not rubberised, black textured finish with engraved lettering. Sadly, the 99 lacks the red and brown versions of the old 90, so it's black only for now. If you prefer to cover up though, Fujifilm sells an optional case for the Mini 99 which continues the retro styling. In a classy feature inherited from its predecessor, the Mini 99 is powered by a rechargeable and removable lithium-ion battery, albeit a different type to the Mini 90. Sadly, this battery still can't be charged in camera though, so you'll need to remove it and fit it into the supplied charger, which is a bit of a shame. This is, however, powered by USB-C, and while Fujifilm does supply a cable, you'll need to provide your own AC adapter. In another classy move over the budget models, the 99 inherits the tripod thread of the 90. It's squeezed into one corner, but the camera is so light you can still keep it steady with even a small tripod. New to the Mini 99 is a small metal cylinder which screws into the tripod thread, providing an unusual looking additional grip, which is actually surprisingly effective when shooting in the tall vertical orientation, albeit less so when shooting in the horizontal wide orientation. This little cylinder also includes a thread on the opposite side, so you can still use it on a tripod if you like. It does look a little bit odd, but it still works. Like all of Fujifilm's analog Instax mini cameras, the 99 employs a 60mm f12.7 lens, which on mini film delivers coverage equivalent to around 34mm, so that's a mild wide angle, ideal for general use from portraits and selfies to buildings and landscapes. As with previous models, twisting a ring around the lens barrel extends it for use, while also powering up the camera. Like the Mini 90 before it, there's 3 focusing ranges, with the first twist preparing the camera for subjects between 3 meters and infinity. A second small twist refocuses the lens for subjects between 60 centimeters and 3 meters, while a final twist adjusts it for subjects in a 30 to 60 centimeter range. This choice of 3 ranges is a little more sophisticated than the 2 ranges of the basic mini cameras like the 12, although the closest focusing distance is actually pretty similar. In the first of the new features, a small lever on the front of the lens barrel partly closes a small iris, which in turn creates a vignetting effect where the corners on your prints become a bit darker. This is a really fun way to physically apply a vignette, but do remember to switch it back when you're done, otherwise you're going to get those darker corners on all your pictures. When holding the camera for vertical prints, you'll use the shutter release button on the front, that's to the left of the lens housing. But in a considerate move, Fujifilm has also equipped the camera with a second shutter release button on the side that's more comfortable to use when you're shooting in the horizontal or landscape orientation. That second shutter button is actually inside one of the other major upgrades on the Mini 99, a pair of new control dials on the side. The dial on the left dials in one of 6 new colour effects: faded green, warm tone, light blue, soft magenta, sepia and light leak. At first, these all sound like forgettable digital effects, until you remember this is a fully analogue camera, so how's the Mini 99 applying them? Opening the film compartment on the back reveals the 99's secret, a coloured LED in each corner of the frame, which illuminate during an exposure to add extra colour. You can see them faintly blink briefly as I go through the modes here. I reckon this is absolute genius, and I love how they're applying a variety of coloured effects in a fully analogue workflow. They're not too heavy-handed either, although since they are adding extra light, you may want to underexpose your shots when using them. Light leak proved to be my favourite of the effects, and it actually seems to use different combinations of light on each picture you take, giving them a unique look. Meanwhile, the dial on the right hand side houses the second shutter release button and, more importantly, acts as an exposure compensation control, with 2 options to lighten the image and 2 to darken it. L and L+ brighten the image by +2/3 or +1 EV respectively, while D and D+ darken it by -2/3 or -5/3 EV. Now, I often find that analog instax cameras can under or overexpose under certain conditions, so I'm delighted to have some kind of manual control over that. Now, to be fair, the earlier Mini 90 also had some exposure control, but the 99 takes it further, allowing it to handle a broader range of conditions, at least until you hit the extremes of the shutter speed range, which is the same on both of those cameras. Note that both dials do turn quite easily and neither are lockable, so do beware when pulling the camera out of a bag or a snug pocket. Remember, the red N on the left dial stands for neutral, with no colour effects applied, while the single dot in the middle of the right dial is for normal exposures. But that's not the end of the controls, as there's 3 buttons and an LCD screen on the rear. Pushing the mode button cycles between 5 options: normal, indoor, which uses slower shutter speeds to brighten interiors, sports, which uses faster shutters to freeze action, double exposure, which lets you take 2 shots that are combined on a single picture, and bulb, which keeps the shutter open for up to 10 seconds while you keep the shutter button held. All but the normal mode are indicated with an icon on the screen, along with the battery life and the shots remaining in your cartridge. Note that there are some restrictions based on the lens focusing range. For example, when set to the closest focusing zone, indoor and sports become unavailable. Pushing the self-timer button in the middle toggles a 10-second self-timer with a light on the front which blinks for the final 3 seconds. Coupled with the tripod thread, it actually makes the Mini 99 pretty practical for keeping slow exposures nice and steady, although do note that the self-timer won't work with the bulb mode, as that requires you to manually hold the shutter button down for as long as you want it to stay open for, so you'll have to do that very carefully. And finally, the flash button cycles between auto, based on the conditions, fill, which always fires, off, and red eye reduction. There's also a slow synchro mode when used with the indoor mode. Again, nothing new over the Mini 90, but having control over the flash is a big improvement over those basic Instax models which basically fire it blindly every single time. The screen on the back also indicates the colour mode to remind you if you've got one of them selected, but it doesn't show the current brightness setting by the other dial, so again it's worth checking the position of both of those dials before you commit to pushing the button. After all, remember, each print is costing you the best part of £1 or $1, so it's really annoying when they don't come out right. As an analog camera, composition is with an optical viewfinder only on the rear, which lacks any kind of guideline, so it's something that you just have to get used to. As always, parallax means the accuracy of the viewfinder also reduces at closer ranges, but in another considerate move, the Mini 99 slightly adjusts the viewfinder coverage when you twist the lens to the minimum distance. It's still not 100% accurate, but it definitely helps. Like the Mini 90 before it though, the 99 lacks the selfie mirror on the front of those budget models. Now this little mirror may seem a bit cheesy, but it genuinely helps you compose selfies with those models, and I actually missed it here. So for selfies on the 99 you'll just be shooting blind. Okay, now for some prints that I took with the Mini 99, and I wanted to start with a view that's normally overexposed on the basic analog mini cameras, even on an overcast day. Here, the print on the left was taken with a normal exposure, albeit with the vignette enabled, hence those darker corners, while the version on the right was taken with the darkest D- setting and the vignette disabled. You can clearly see how the image on the right is darker, retaining details in the overcast sky and white pier building, which are completely washed out on the normal version, albeit in turn losing most of the foreground to shadow. Instax film does have a fairly limited dynamic range, so unless you're very creative with the flash and the subject distance, you'll generally have to sacrifice either bright highlights or dark shadows, but at least you now do have some control over that. Note the Mini 99 shares the same shutter speed range as the Mini 90 in most of its modes, so that's 1.8 seconds to 400th of a second, and that gives both of those models a broader selection than the basic Instax cameras, allowing them to better handle brighter or darker conditions. I personally found the vignette control didn't work particularly well when given a completely blown out white sky, as you can see on the left, but when you deliberately underexpose a picture or have more colour across the frame, it can be much more effective as seen in this shot on the right. And now here's another deliberate underexposure for a moody result, albeit now taken without the vignette. At the other end of the scale, here's a couple of examples taken indoors in low light with the flash turned off, and that in turn has forced the camera to deploy a slower shutter speed for a correct exposure. The cafe shot on the left was handheld, so it is suffering from a little bit of wobble at the slower shutter speed, but the guitars on the right were taken from a mini tripod with a self-timer, showing how crisp the results can be if you're a bit more careful with your technique. Taking this even further, here's two shots I took using the bulb mode at night as double-decker buses drove past. In both cases I was using a mini tripod, carefully keeping the shutter fully pushed until the print emerged, so both represent the longest 10-second exposures. Now limitations with the actual Instax film itself means you'll sometimes notice dark marks where the paper has become oversaturated, such as in the middle of very bright lights. But overall I love being able to make longer exposures like these. It gives the 99 and the earlier 90 greater control than those basic models. Also inherited from the Mini 90 is the chance to make double exposures. Now as a fully analog process, there's no chance to preview the first shot as you line up your second, and I'd also recommend underexposing both shots, otherwise you're going to end up with too much light. But again, it's a really fun and creative bonus over those budget models. Moving on to the big new feature of the 99 over any model to date though, here's some examples of the various colour effects, again generated by those little coloured LEDs inside the body itself. Now these have varying success depending on the subject, but I just love how they're being created entirely in the analog domain without any digital manipulation. Note that for brighter landscape views, you may wish to combine them with a deliberate underexposure. I find that the colours look better then. Of all the effects, I think my favourite is the light leak mode, which appears to generate a random result each time, or at least have a few different combinations for the camera to pick from. Again, the result can inevitably look a little bit faded or overexposed, but then that's what a light leak would do, and given it's being generated artificially, I think it actually looks quite authentic. Certainly as someone who's suffered from several film cameras with light leaks, I can tell you the result isn't dissimilar, and it gives a nice vintage style to some of these photos. It's so much fun playing with the various effects that you forget the camera can also take normal pictures under normal conditions. In fact, it's the sheer variety of conditions that the Mini 99 can work under that makes it by far Fujifilm's best analog Instax camera so far. It may inherit a great deal from the now discontinued Mini 90, but it genuinely adds some new and innovative features, most notably the vignette and the colour effects, applied by a physical iris and internal LEDs respectively. Now we've seen similar effects in the digital domain, including on several of Fujifilm's digital Evo models, but I just love that they're being generated in a fully analog system here. Couple them with some control over exposure and you've got a camera that's not only more fun than the basic models, but capable of handling a much broader range of conditions from light to dark. Not only does this provide greater creative options, but it means far fewer wasted prints due to limitations on those budget models. Sure, composition with the basic optical viewfinder is still a weak point on all of Fujifilm's analog Instax cameras, but even third-party instant SLRs like those from Nons involve compromises too. If you want accurate framing on an instant camera, you're just going to need to dump your fully analog fantasy in favour of a digital model. And while the Mini 99 may also lack the full manual exposures of the Nons SLRs, I felt there was still sufficient control to achieve pretty much any effect I wanted under pretty much any condition. In fact, short of developing a completely new framing system, the only thing I'd request in the future are versions for Instax Square and Instax Wide formats. If you personally prefer the Mini format, do also keep an eye open for discounted Mini 90s which offer a similar degree of control. But overall, the 99 does become Fujifilm's best analog camera to date, and it's well worth spending the extra over, say, a basic Mini 12. It's very welcome for anyone who wants a practical upgrade in control and creativity while maintaining a fully analog system. Right, that's it for this review. I hope you found it useful. Do let me know what you think in the comments. If you are interested in other Instax products, be it a different shape, a digital camera for more predictable results, or a portable printer for use with your phone, I've reviewed all of them on my channel, so do check out some of them if you're interested. Thanks for watching this video, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.